We move through our cities as islands, surrounded by hundreds of strangers, whose internal worlds are guarded by invisible walls. We see their faces, but we can only guess at the stories unfolding behind them. Imagine if those biological walls suddenly vanished, not through technology, but through a sudden, global shift in human perception. In an instant, the internal monologues of everyone around you become as audible as the wind. The quiet grief of a passerby, the hidden excitement of a student, and the mundane grocery lists of a commuter all flood into the open. For the first time, humanity has lost the ability to keep a secret. We have entered a reality where the default state of existence is unavoidable, absolute truth. The initial impact feels like a massive weight being lifted. Without the ability to lie, the energy we once spent maintaining social masks or second-guessing a friend's true intentions is suddenly reclaimed. When you can see the specific, pulsing pain that a college is trying to hide, your reaction isn't just sympathy, it's a direct response to a shared experience. The distance between you and them narrows. This clarity drives a surge in cooperation. When the struggles of others are no longer abstract concepts, but visible realities, the impulse to help becomes as natural as a reflex. This new world offers a level of honesty that feels like a collective relief. But this era of clarity assumes that the raw data firing in our brains is a reliable reflection of who we actually are. A single human brain produces thousands of distinct thoughts every day, but only a tiny fraction of them are intentional. Most of our mental activity is cognitive noise, fleeting impulses, bizarre, intrusive thoughts, and biological reactions to stress or hunger that we never asked for and rarely agree with. Our biology treats the mind as a chaotic drafting room. Raw, experimental ideas are constantly generated and then discarded, with only the most coherent thoughts passing through a restrictive bottleneck, the mental filter, to become actual speech or action. Human society was built to interact with that finished, filtered output. We are not evolved to handle the raw, unedited noise of the drafting room. The consequences of this exposure are immediate and devastating. You begin to hear a loved one's momentary flash of irritation or a friend's involuntary, petty judgment, thoughts they would have dismissed and forgotten in seconds. A new kind of social friction emerges. We struggle to distinguish between a passing neurological reflex and a deeply held conviction. We begin to hold people responsible for thoughts they didn't even choose to have. Intimacy relies on the understanding that some things stay inside. When that boundary is gone, trust dissolves, because we can no longer see the difference between a person's true character and their temporary mental clutter. Absolute transparency turns out to be a burden. It forces us to experience the emotional fallout of every stray impulse, even the ones that were never meant to be real. This breakdown quickly scales from individual relationships to the systems that hold the world together. International diplomacy relies on the strategic gap, the space between a nation's internal desperation and its external strength. When a negotiator can see their opponent's true fear or their absolute bottom line, the room for compromise vanishes, and the system of statecraft freezes. Global markets rely on information asymmetry. If every trader can see when a CEO is panicking or when a competitor is about to fold, price discovery fails. Trust in the fairness of the exchange disappears, and commerce stalls. Above all, the human mind simply buckles under the sheer sensory weight. Imagine trying to maintain your own sense of self while drowning in the unending, uncurated volume of grief, desire, and anxiety of everyone in a 5-mile radius. A society without a mental filter cannot sustain itself. The very structures of trade, law, and peace depend on our ability to keep our private thoughts separate from our public lives. Eventually, the phenomenon fades, the mental walls return, and the city goes quiet once again. The private mind serves as an incubator, a protected space to process raw emotions and test wrong answers before they affect the world. Inside, we refine impulses, discarding noise to decide what becomes reality. This protective barrier is what allows us to be more than just our biology. It gives us the power to choose our identity, rather than being defined by every random thought that fires in our brain. telepathy is just a data transfer. Real human connection is an act of will, the intentional effort to bridge the silence between two private worlds and truly listen to what another person chooses to share. We are the architects of our own character. We are defined not by the noise inside our heads, but by the signals we choose to send to the rest of the world.